Well, hello everybody. My name is Michael, and this is December of 2022, and I'm going to show you how to install Ubuntu version 22.04 into your Oracle Virtual Box. We are going to install the server here. There is a desktop version, but this is the server because we are doing a lot of command line things and we want to learn the command line better. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that you have Oracle Virtual Box installed on your computer. If you don't have it, you can get it from here. And the other thing is you're going to download the ISO image. So we are using version 22, and I mentioned it's December of 2022 now because they do come up with new versions, and sometimes this is a newer version that's out now. So sometimes it takes a few months for them to get a more stable version. So maybe by the time you're watching this version, they'll have version 24. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to go start up my Oracle Virtual Box. So if I go here, I can just type in O for Oracle, and there's my Oracle Virtual Box. And so I have Oracle Virtual Box here with lots of Windows and Linux virtual machines. But what we want to do, first of all, is make sure that we have the ISO image. So you go to Ubuntu Server Download, and once you go there, you're going to click there, Download Ubuntu Server. So what we're going to do is we are going to do the manual installation. And when you do that, it'll bring down the ISO. We want to get the ISO image. Now, I'm actually not going to click on that because I already have that installed or downloaded here. So if I go here into my documents, I make a folder called ISO Library. And the reason why I do that is because I like to have my ISO images there. So I've got Ubuntu 22, plus I have Windows Server 2019 there. So I have these all ready to go. And by putting them in one folder, you don't have to dig through your downloads folder. They don't get buried under all the other stuff you download. And this way you know exactly where they are. Like suppose you couldn't find your Ubuntu 22, which is about 2 gigabytes, and then you go down and load another one. So there's another 2 gigabytes taking up hard drive space. So anyway, what we are going to do is once you have that download, we got to start Oracle Virtual Box, which we have done here. It's actually 2 of them running. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to go click on New. So this will be click on New. So here, let's go make that into bold for you. Okay, so once you do that, then what we're going to do is we're going to select the operating system that we wish to install. System that we wish to install. Okay, now thing is, there's many operating systems you can install. You can install Windows 2016, 2019, Windows Server 2022. You can install Windows 7. I don't know why, it's ancient. Windows 10, they do have 11 out now, but 10 is still popular. Macintosh, other versions of Linux, there's Red Hat Linux, Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, Mint. Oh, the list goes on and on. So once we choose that, we want to go ahead and let's go do that, and I'll show you exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go up here. So this is where you click on New. And once we click there, we need to give it a name. So give your virtual machine a name. So how about I'm just going to call this, I don't know, how about Linux Web Server? Okay. Now I am going to be putting a little bit of web page on here. I'll show you that in a few minutes. So I'm just going to call it Linux Web Server. And the minute I type in Linux, it knows that I'm going to do Linux, but I need to go down here and specifically tell it, oh wait, you have lots of versions of Linux, look at all those. But what we want is Ubuntu 64. Okay. Now this is the new version, the 7 of virtual machines, 7.04. And they keep coming up with new versions. They just came up with this maybe about, I don't know, August, September, October of 2022. Back in the old ones, they didn't let you choose your ISO. So here they let you do that. But I'm not going to do that. I recommend you don't. I'll show you in a few pages here how the better way to install it. And it's going to put all my virtual machines on drive C inside this folder called Virtual Box VMs. Okay, so basically what you want to do then next is we're going to, we would say give, select the operating system and then give your VM instance a unique name. Okay, unique name means, you know, don't have two instances named the same. Now this word instance, like, you know, anybody who does cloud computing, you'll know a virtual machine, they call it an instance up in the cloud. So they're typically servers, although it could be a client machine also. And then go ahead and then click next. Okay. So here we can go put that in bold. We're going to go click next. So here we are in VirtualBox, and we click next. Once you get here, I've got 16 gigabytes of RAM, so I'm going to keep this at 2 gigabytes, which is 2048. If you only have 4 gig of RAM, I recommend bumping that down to 1024. Okay, 1024. But I'm happy with 2048, which is 2 gig. There we go. And by default, it has one virtual CPU. Let's give it 2. Okay. I'm assuming you have like at least 4 cores. So we click on next again, and what we're going to do here, we can go back to our little page and we can go ahead and we're going to say, you know, allocate 2 GB RAM. So it's going to be sharing that RAM with your computer. So that's why I mentioned I have 16 gigabytes. If I only had 4 gigabytes, there's no way you want to use 2 gig. Because if you have 2 gig on one virtual machine, 2 gig on another, and you only have 4 gig, boom, game over. Because your computer be starved for memory and it just shut down. Okay, you don't want to have that happen. So I've got 16 gigabytes of RAM, so it's no big deal. So this is going to be 2048 megabyte. Okay, that's how they do that. Let's fix this number, 2048. Okay, 48, and get my keyboard to cooperate with me. There we go, Mr. Keyboard. Now, allocate 2 gigabytes of RAM, and perhaps choose 2 CPUs. Okay. It makes your virtual machine run a little bit better. Okay, and then what we're going to do then is click next. Okay, so click next, which is what we did. Control B, put a T in there. Okay, good. So we've done that, and meanwhile back at Oracle Virtual Box, we need to go here for your virtual hard drive. It's going to say 25 gigabyte. I'm happy with that. So so here we could just say VirtualBox will come on, keyboard, behave. Will allocate 25 GB hard drive to your Ubuntu instance. Okay? Now, that's good. So we go back here to VirtualBox, and now we can just go ahead and click on next. So it's going to create hard disk now, and there's a little bit of summary, and we click on finish. Okay, so we're just gonna we will create a new hard drive. Okay, and then we could say VirtualBox will allocate 25 gigabytes. Okay, so then now review the summary and click finish. Okay. Now, just because you click finish doesn't mean it's done. Like basically you haven't installed any operating systems. All you've done here is put in the shell. Okay. So now the next thing we need to do here in our VirtualBox is we need to go to settings, and we're going to do two things. The most important thing to do here is to go to storage, and what we see here is we need to tell our virtual DVD drive where our virtual DVD is. Now if you look up here, I have an IDE controller and a SATA controller. So my hard drive is attached to the SATA controller and my DVD is attached to the IDE. But notice the DVD, it says it's empty. How come? Because there's nothing in it. So how do we put something in it? And what are we going to put in it? We're going to put in that ISO image. So we're going to put in, the image is going to act like a virtual DVD inside my virtual drive. Hey, this is all virtual. We're using part of my hard drive. We're using part of my network. We're using part of my RAM. We're using my display. We're sharing everything on my host computer. And we're sharing, I don't have a real DVD, but it's going to be a virtual DVD. So we click on empty, and then we see a little disk out here, and it says choose a virtual optical disk or physical drive to use with VirtualBox. The virtual machine will see a disk inserted into the drive with the data in the file on the disk in the physical drive and its contents. So we click there, and this is showing up because I've made virtual machines, but you could just choose on click on choose a disk file. I have Windows and Ubuntu. I'm going to go to Ubuntu. I click open, and bada boom, bada bing, I can click OK. Except we still need to do one more thing. What we want to do here is go into network, and we see by default this is on NAT, which is good. We do want an NAT adapter because this is going to let us connect to the internet. But I'm going to go put this one on host only, which we'll show you about in a little bit. And I'm going to go, you can go to adapter 2, 3, or 4. I'm going to go to adapter 4 and go enable adapter, and I'll put that one on NAT. The reason why I do that is because if I have two virtual machines, I can network them together. I'll leave them both on host only. We could put them on internal as well. If we put them on internal, they can see each other, but my computer can't see them. If I put them on host only, where those two virtual machines and my computer will all be on a virtual switch, and my computer will actually be able to connect to my virtual machines, which is kind of cool. So we've put in the storage for our disk, and we've put on the network, and now we click OK. And now we go ahead and click start. Okay? So this thing is going to start up, and this new version of VirtualBox puts these little things out here, and this is going to pop up here, and you are going to see this, try or install Ubuntu, and I'm just going to hit enter because I want to try it. So it's starting the installation. Now you might be wondering something, why did I set the network settings the way I did? I say I'm going to be networking two virtual machines, okay, and then why do I need the other adapter that's NAT to connect to the internet? Well, you should know if you have Windows, Windows comes with everything you need installed. But if you have Linux, Linux comes lean and mean. It's bare bones, which means it doesn't have a lot of software on it. So you need to get it. And where do you get it from? Up in the cloud, there's something called a repository where Linux keeps all of your updates. So when you get your updates, you go connect up to the local, they call it a mirror, which is the local version of the repository, and then you can pull down your updates. Okay, so we need to have two connections. That's why we're doing that. Okay, now I could choose regular English. I'm going to choose UK. Now, why am I choosing UK? Because I happen to be in Ireland, so I want to have my time zone for over here for Dublin and Scotland and UK. Okay, so I'm going to go continue without updating here. We can update later. Now it says US English, so I don't want that. So I'm going to hit the tab key once, hit it again. Tab key is the little key over on the left side that has two arrows. Hit it again. There's my language. English US, I don't want that because my time zone would be 8 hours ahead, like the west coast of America, like California, Oregon, Washington, and Canada on the West Coast. I don't want that. I want UK because I'm over here in this time zone, so obviously. And I want the keyboard. I don't want the American keyboard. I want this keyboard. It's pretty much the same. The number 2 has a quote mark, and then there's the @ sign for the emails. Those get reversed on the keyboard if we don't do this. So I'm happy with UK. Boom. Then I go down here with the tab key, go to done. It's highlighted in green. Hit enter. There we go. Now it's saying the base, choose the base installation we want. So I'm just going to have Ubuntu Server. I'm happy with that. And I'm going to hit done. And now it sees 2 adapters. I have ENP0S3. That's going to be the adapter that I put, the first one that I put on host only. It's going to get this address, 192.168.56.108. If I make another virtual machine, this says 109. If I make another one, it'll say 110, and if I make another one after that, it'd be 111. They just keep adding on, okay? So there's your network adapter IP address, and then the ENP0S10, that is the adapter that I put on NAT. So what that means is it's going to get this IP address, 10.0.5.15/24, which is 255.255.255.0, obviously. So what's going to happen there is that machine will get its IP address from an internal DHCP built into Oracle Virtual Box, but that'll allow us to connect up to the internet, which I will show you once we have this installed. I go and hit enter. We do not need a proxy, so I'm going to go hit done. And now this is important. This is the mirror we're going to be connecting up to for installing the Linux. There's a little notification here I can get rid of. Configure Ubuntu Archive Mirror, where you're going to get your files from the local repository over here in Europe. If you use an alternative mirror for Ubuntu, enter its details here. Well, we don't want an alternative. I'm happy with IE because I'm in Ireland. archiveubuntu.com. So it is our local mirror, and you always want to get the local one anyway. So I hit done. Boom. Now it wants to configure my hard disk, and you might be saying, wait a second, configure your hard disk. Haven't you been writing the hard disk the whole time? No, we haven't written to the hard drive at all. Everything we've been doing has been put into memory. Now it's going to ask us permission to partition the disk. Once we say that, then it's going to start installing the OS, and then you're going to see it actually write to the hard drive. So we're telling it to use the entire disk. Now if you didn't want to, you could use just a custom storage layout and have partitions. We're happy with just one partition because we don't need anything. We don't need to encrypt the the LVM is the logical volume manager. This is your partition table. We don't have to encrypt it. We're not worried about that. So I go hit enter and nothing happens, so I have to go hit the tab key and go down to done. Actually, I want to go up here to, yeah, that one should be checked. No, that's fine. We're good. So I'm going to go down to done, hit enter, boom. Now, this is where it's going to partition the disk. So our file system is going to be ext4, which is what Ubuntu uses. You see 2 partitions. One's going to be the root partition, is that / and then the boot partition. And then there's the LVM group, which is your kind of like your partition table. And now we're going to go hit done. Now it says confirm destructive action. Selecting the continue below will begin the installation process and result in the loss of data on the disk selected to be formatted. You will not be able to return to this or previous screen once the installation is started. Do you want to continue? In other words, it's saying, listen, dude, if you go ahead and hit continue, it's going to overwrite anything you have on your hard drive, and any data you have, there's going to be written over. And once you hit continue, it's game over for any data. But look, this is a brand new hard drive on a virtual hard drive on a new virtual machine. There is no data. We don't care. Of course, we're going to hit continue. So go ahead and hit continue. Now, this part's really important. I'm going to put my name, because my name is Michael, and I'm going to put my server name. And my server name, I'm going to call it, how about Linux Web Server. And I'm using lowercase because Linux likes to use lowercase, whereas Windows is not case sensitive. Linux is. So if I pick a username mweiss, that's a different username than if I have a capital M. Actually, it doesn't want lowercase, uppercase. It's telling you, Don't use uppercase. Only use lowercase. So I'm going to use M. Weiss, and I'm going to choose a password. So if you ever watch Mary Poppins, then you know that's my favorite movie, and my password, of course, is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So if you know how to spell that, you could very easily hack into my system. Okay, so there we go, and I'm going to go down and click Done. And I don't need the OpenSSH right now. We're actually going to be using PuTTY to connect up to it later on. I'm using, I don't know what kind of mean, a nice Windows laptop. Going to hit Done. We don't need any of this software. Anything else we need, we can install later. I'm just going to go down to Done. I'm just going to hit Enter. And now we are installing the system. How long is this going to take? Oh, it could take a while. So I'm just going to pause the video, because this is about as exciting as watching paint dry. More exciting than watching the tea kettle boil for 20 minutes. Okay? I'm just kidding, folks, but we're not going to sit here and babysit this. So I'll come back in a few minutes. Okay, so you're going to see, once it's installed, it'll say installation complete. And what's going to happen is here, let me pause this again for a second. You're going to get a message from the system. It's going to say, hang on a second here, let me go find that again. Creating Ubuntu. You're going to get a message that says failed unmounting CD-ROM. And it's going to be right there. So all you have to do is go to Devices, go to Insert Guest Editions, and then you're going to hit Enter. And once you do that, it's going to restart. And once it restarts, you're just going to go put in your name and your password, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And now I'm logged in, and welcome to Linux land. Thank you everybody for watching this video, and have a nice day.